Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, November the 22nd, and as you may be able to guess from the location that I'm filming in, it is a cloudy, overcast, gray, chilly day. So we're back in this room. If you are a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me, and I hope that you enjoy what you see. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for returning and spending some time with me as well. If you have any questions or comments or any topics that you would like me to address, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to take questions or talk about specific subjects that you have any interest in. This is going to be one of my short videos this week, or at least at the beginning of filming. I think this is going to be one of my short videos. As you all know, you know what I'm going to be stitching on. So let's start with what I stitched on this week, and I realized that I misspoke last week when I said a particular statement, and you're going to see why. So what did I stitch on this week? The Marbeck Nativity. So the statement that I misspoke was I said that you weren't going to necessarily have to see this particular chart again. And the answer is you're going to have to see this chart again because I was still not done the bottom part of that center panel of the Marbeck Nativity. So this is what it looks like. What did I get accomplished? It's a little unwieldy today for a variety of reasons. Okay. So I finished the sheep. So I did finish the sheep and all the back stitching around the sheep and the hay. There's a lot more stitching in there than, it looks like, including things like there's 6 different colors of stitching in that lovely gem of a thing. Not to mention 4 colors of back stitching. I know, to look at it, you would not expect that that's what it took to get that sheep in there, but that's what it took to get that sheep in there. I will also make a quick little comment about the chart that says, the chart itself and the picture on the front of the chart don't necessarily agree with each other at certain times. And I have seen this in all sorts of different spots in this particular chart, and I have not kept track of them. What I do is I look at what's charted, I look at what the cover picture is, and then I decide between those 2 options which one I like best. In this particular instance, there was some, so as we've talked about, there's some shadowing that's going around here, and particularly around here. There was some shadowing around just the back end of the sheep. In the cover photo, which is not in the chart itself, and I agree with the chart, because to me it makes it look like it's something else, and I'm choosing not to have that in my particular piece. I'll leave it at that. I'm sure you can figure it out. So I did finish off the sheep, and so with that, as we all, well, you may not know, so I am not stitching Mary for a bit because the person that this is intended for as a gift had made a comment that they were a little surprised at the color choices for Mary in the design. And so I'm actually going to have a conversation with them in about 9 days, and then we'll see what they really want to do. It might stay the same, it might change, who knows. So with that, I'm also going to say in this particular light, I think you can actually see a little bit of how good the Crynecks looks along the bottom edge of that wise man. And with that, actually that's not true, there was one extra step. So the other thing that I stitched, which you probably forgot, was the baby did need to have a mouth put on it, and I was missing the DMC color for that. So the child now has a mouth, not just 2 eyes. And I'm going to unroll slowly. So after that came Yes. Thread still hanging. We are back up here to the top. Now, for those of you who have not necessarily watched me for 472 weeks, which feels like the length of time that I've been stitching on this. So this is the top part of the chart. So this is the star in all of its Cryneck glory. Again. And it did come to me with this part of the pink angel already stitched. I, of course, stitched a little bit of pink down here, and I was most distressed with the quality of my stitches. And so I have, so one of my tasks this week was to rip that out. So I successfully ripped it out. Didn't even try to save the thread. I was done with it. So I ripped it out, and then have this little bit of a start over here on the angel on the left side. So what does this, welcome to the other chart. After this one, there's only one more left to go. So this is the top part of the center panel, which the chart name is the Bethlehem Star. And I will say the reason why I just like this, so they have shown here on the back that technically you could just choose an angel to stitch. You don't necessarily have to stitch it the way that it's done or use it as the center panel. I, of course, am choosing it to do it as the top of the center panel, so I can get all 5 of them done. So as you can see, I have a very tiny start over here on the angel, which means there's a lot of angel left to go. So this is about 20% bigger than the wise men. And I have this part of the pink angel left to go. So there's a lot of stitching left to be done here, folks. November 22nd. And I have 8 days till we hit December. Plus 31 days in December. I don't know what's going on with the lighting here. I feel like it's probably the reflection off of this. Anyway, so I have 39 days left to finish the center panel and the beading and get the camel done. I don't know. It's not looking great. Okay, when I joked before and I said I was probably going to need to spend 20 hours a day stitching between Christmas and New Year's, it may turn into I need to be stitching 20 hours a day to have this finished in 2020, and I really want it finished in 2020. But anyway, you can only do so much. So again, I'm just going to roll back down because really the big accomplishment this week has been, I'm going to do this because here's my beauty shot for the screenshot. I know, other than the gaping hole for Mary, the bottom part of this center panel is complete. I know, complete other than an entire figure. I get that. But we're getting there. Every stitch is a stitch closer to being finished. And with that, that sums up all of my stitching for this week. I know. Ugh. Anyway, we're making progress. That's what I keep telling myself. It's more stitches than were in there the last time you saw it, and it looks a little bit different than the last time you saw it. So, you know, things are happening. And with that, let's move on to Stashquisitions. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Stashquisitions when we get to the topic, which will become evident as to why that is. But the things that have entered my house this week is something that I'm very happy about. And I've been waiting for this chart. Waiting for this chart. Look what I have. Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais, aka Country Stitches, aka With Thy Needle and Thread. So this is a chart that was released at a Shepherd's Bush retreat. I think it's 2 years ago. I think it was 2018. And, you know, not surprisingly, the people who attended that retreat have stitched on it and finished it and done lovely things with it. But it was not available. It was not publicly available. You had to know somebody. But it was released recently, and I have my hands on my copy. I think this is just lovely. Now, am I going to have to change some things about this? Of course. One, so the fabric for this is a new color called Brenda's Brew, and I have seen it. I do find, you know, for me, it's a little on the brown side, as many fabrics are. So I am going to change the background fabric to a gray from my stash. Haven't quite decided which one, but a gray from my stash. And there has been some discussion from the people who are stitching this recently. So Brenda, I'm pretty sure it's Brenda from Brenda and the Serial Starter. Is it Brenda? Anyway, might be Kindred Stitches. Anyways, Lost in Floss for sure. So several people have been stitching on it, and they've been changing some of these colors. So the color of the house here is Weeks Dye Works Conch. And depending on the, you know, the particular skein that you've got, it may be very pink, it may be taupey, it could be anywhere in between. Welcome to the nature of hand-dyed fabrics. So it depends on your color. I don't really want a pinky house, so I'll have to, I haven't decided what I'm going to do the house in, but Conch may not be the one that I particularly choose. Ah, yes, and it was Brenda in the Serial Starter because it was Brenda. So the called for color here for the snow is actually Roasted Marshmallow. And her particular skeins were quite yellow. And she said, I can't have yellow snow. And I'm totally with her on that. Yellow snow doesn't sound good in all sorts of ways. So again, so I expect that I will be changing that to something else. Could be grits, could be antique lace, could be, I don't know, haven't decided yet. I'll need to see it. I'll need to see it against the house color and the fabric that I end up choosing. So there's two charts in this pattern. There's this front one, which is just lovely. I can't stitch it. I actually know someone who's actually started stitching this, and I think she's just being very mean because she tells me all the lovely things that she's accomplished on it, and I can't start it because I'm stitching on Marbeck. Also included in this is the chart for this, which I like equally as well. So I may end up doing both of them. I think this is stitched on 36, and I think this is stitched on 40 count Brenda's Brew. One, I don't think I'll be doing it on a linen. Two, I won't be doing it on Brenda's Brew either way because I find that too brown for me, but that's me. So, I have my Winter Rose Manor. I'm very excited about this. Slightly irrationally excited about it. And that's my Stashquisition that came home this week. Let's talk about free charts. This is also going to be a little bit atypical. So I'm just going to talk about the drawn thread. So the drawn thread has some free charts, and as usual, the link to the section of their site where the free chart is going to be in the notes below. And so you can go there and you can choose. The challenging part for me is that a lot of the charts that they have on there that are free, they don't actually have a picture of what the finished product looks like. And so, I mean, you can click on the names of the charts and you can go into there, but all you get is the chart. And while I know they're free, I don't necessarily like showing the chart itself on my Flosstube channel. So I've chosen not to do that. But they have several things there. The drawn thread is known, they do have several of them that have specialty stitches in them. Fear not specialty stitches. If they've got specialty stitches in them, they've got fantastic stitch diagrams included with the free chart. I was watching the Sunshine Stitchers from their video yesterday, and I agree with Sheila and EJ that you should never fear a specialty stitch. Now, it may not be necessarily as quick as you are when you're stitching regular cross stitches, because that's what you're used to. But as long as you've got a really good stitch diagram, they're actually quite easy to do. It's follow the dots, or connect the dots. If you were a kid, if you drew those pictures, if you can draw connect the dots when you were a kid, you can absolutely do specialty stitches. So the one that I'm going to show is one that they actually do have the finished picture on the website. So this is an example of the type of chart that they do. So again, we're heading into winter and it's snowy and it's cold, so I'm thinking of all the snow things. So this is one of the examples. They've also got ones, there's a Valentine's Day one on there, there's home for the holidays, they have autumn ones. So there's several different options for you. But I thought this was a very nice, and again, so this is not terribly big. So very, very doable. So that is my free chart this week from the Drawn Thread. And with that, that's going to lead us right into the topic for this week. Let's talk Preparing for 2021, Part 2. Why is it Part 2? Well, because at the end of October, I did Preparing for 2021, Part 1. You'll never guess there's going to be a Preparing for 2021, Part 3, and it's going to come in December. So, and again, so part of this exercise for me has been sort of trying to give myself the motivation to try to work really hard on my Marbeck Nativity and get it done in 2020, so that come 2021 I can start with a clean slate and I can start all sorts of new things and do all kinds of different things and not have to bring up that M word that all of us, I think, are starting to be really tired of hearing. So that's been my mental journey, that I have been figuring out what I'm planning on stitching in 2021. I have been doing it for the entire year. So I have created a plan for myself for what I am stitching on every month for 2021. All different things, all sorts of new things being started. Won't it be exciting to stitch on something different? And anyway, all of you will have something new to look at. I'll be able to stitch on something different, only if I get my dreaded goal accomplished, which means, holy smokes, I need to stop, doing things like cooking meals and cleaning the bathrooms and doing laundry. I just need to stitch. But anyway, hopefully, oh my goodness, please let it come to fruition. I'm a little bit concerned at this point, as I said, with the 39 days left in 2020, whether or not I can actually finish that center panel and the camel. There's a lot of beads left to go on that thing too. Anyway, I'm going to try to ignore that a little bit more and just focus on 2021 plans. So the plans have been coming together. I've picked my charts. I think I talked about this a little bit before, that I have put in some orders. Hence the Part 2 of the Stashquisitions is that I have put in orders for fibers, a couple of charts that I'm looking to stitch on, and some fabric that I am looking to use for my glorious 2021 plan. I will also say, don't forget that also I've decided that for 2021, I'm going to try and do Stitch from Stash. And I'm actually going to try to use the rules from the actual Facebook group that is headed by Ms. Oh So Crafty, Stitch from Stash. Now, I'm not probably going to necessarily show everybody my tallies and all that kind of stuff, but I'm planning on using the rules from the group to try to do my Stitch from Stash. Hence, I'm buying all the things now. Okay, in some cases I'm buying more than I think I need to, but that's a different problem. So I've been working on that, and the orders have been placed, but that of course leads me into my regular discussion, which I feel like I come up on here quite regularly, going, let's talk about the supply chain. And I really do feel like I need to talk about this again, Again, just because I've been seeing some stuff in the Facebook groups and in some online postings, and I've come into another factoid, mostly a factoid. I'm missing some of the details around the factoid, but Cryneck, so Cryneck was shut down for a minimum of 3 months back when the current situation that we're living in started. So complete and utter shutdown, didn't produce anything. Now that of course was about the time that everybody, when we were all staying at home, and then started to stitch like wild things and discovered that we were missing threads and things like that, and we're ordering like, you know, there's no tomorrow. So there's a huge amount of backlog of orders for Crynecks. And my understanding is that they are planning for an 8-week period that they are going to focus on, and this is where the factoid gets a little bit, you know, vague. 60 of the most popular colors from their line is what that's all they're going to produce. Now, 60, maybe it was 80. Anyway, not the full line. So even if you put in an order now for some color, if it's not one of the most popular ones, it's not getting made for a minimum of 8 weeks. Now, I'm also vague on exactly when the 8 weeks started, but I'm pretending it's starting, you know, post Thanksgiving Day for my own benefit, and saying like, really, that's going to take us through December and probably January. So let's say that's the 8 weeks. So if you're choosing a not top popular color, Crynecks is not even going to be manufacturing that color until at least February at the earliest. And I think they're doing this just to try to catch up on the sheer quantum of the backlog of orders. And even since they reopened, you know, it's not like people are stitching less or we've been ordering less or any of those things. And so I think that's also added to the situation that they're facing. So they are working to catch up on these things. But I also want to say, if you've placed an order, so if you were someone like me and you placed an order at the beginning of November, if it was for one of those not popular colors, even if I place the order at the beginning of November, I'm still not going to be able to see it until maybe February, could even be March before I see that, through no fault of the shops, and through, quite frankly, no fault of Crynecks. I think they're just trying to focus on those most popular colors, because that will take care of the biggest amount of backlog and it will clear up the largest amount of orders in their system. So I totally understand why they're doing it. It just means this is the reality of the situation, that if you're choosing a not popular or well-used color, you're going to have to wait months before any shop is likely to be able to be in a position where they can get it for you. And with that of course takes me into the land of fabric, because again, I've been seeing some postings about people who are not pleased with the length of time that it's taking for them to get hand-dyed fabrics. And I've been, there's a couple of things. So when I was on a site, so this is not, unlike the last time, or well, back in the summer when I gave a quote from Picture This Plus, because I'd gotten it in a newsletter. This is from somebody else's website where you can order Picture This Plus fabric, where they have said they are averaging, their actual experience time is that they're averaging, it's about 22 weeks for them to receive an order from the time it is placed. So again, it's not that they're not getting the fabric, it's just taking a really long time to get it. Now there's a couple of factors that, again, from what I can gather, are feeding into this. There's issues about getting the base fabrics to dye. And this is on several of the hand-dyed fabric dyers' pages themselves. Like, some of them are very clear saying, we have a huge back order of, and I'm just going to pick on 28 count linen, because the back order is that large for what they're getting. And so you can order it, but they don't even have the fabric to dye, and the fabric they have ordered is on back order, which means generally, my understanding is that most of them, there's no time frame specifically as to when they may potentially receive that. So again, if you order Picture This Plus fabric from your LNS or your online needlework shop, if they don't have it in stock, they are going to have to order it. And it's going to be months before you get it. And so you just need to be, if you're going to make that choice to choose an overdyed fabric, you need to be prepared to be patient and wait and honor your order with a shop if you're going to choose to do that. I have got some orders in for Picture This Plus. Will I have received it in time for 2021? I don't know. Now, my plan for that and how that relates to my Stitch from Stash is, my plan is I'm going to take the orders that I have in with my LNS that I have not received by the end of the year, and I'm just going to buy myself a gift certificate so that in my head they're paid for. So it won't come out of my budget for 2021, because I will have ordered it in 2020. I will have bought the gift certificate for it in 2020, so it won't impact my 2021, which is why I'm ordering the things now, as opposed to when we get to 2021. Am I ordering things that I probably am not necessarily going to stitch in 2021? Of course. But the other thing about the plan that I've come up with is that there's enough flexibility. So I have in my head, I've mapped everything out. I've mapped out my charts. I've mapped out my fabrics. I haven't made final decisions on all of them, but I'm awfully close. I'm awfully close. Sorry, in my head I'm just going like, I'm awfully close. I'm pretty close. I think I only have like maybe 2 things that I need to make some final decisions on. So I've made those decisions about that. I've generally looked out the threads. Now, there have been a couple of things that have changed in the last little bit in my thinking. So I need to go back and I need to check that, which is why I have a whole month left for me to get anything. So one, to go through it, see if there's any gaps in what I've got currently in the stash to fill it, and hopefully be able to get that before we hit 2021. Now, again, I'm leaving enough flexibility in my stuff that there are probably a couple of options along the way as you go through things about what I could stitch on, and that I'm making sure I've got ready. So I think I've got enough flexibility, because sometimes you just get there and you're not in the mood to do the planned item. And that's okay too. So I'm allowing for that in my plan for 2021. Now, I think, as I said the first time I talked on this topic, I am encouraging everybody, come up with a plan for 2021. Now, you don't have to be as egregious as me and say, in my head, I've mapped out everything that I'm stitching on for the next 12 months and what that's going to look like. Again, part of that just has to do with my mental health and how I'm dealing with stitching on Marbeck, is planning for all different things come 2021. Nor do you have to be as exuberant as Gary from the Sunshine Stitchers, who comes up with these really egregious plans because he's a ridiculously fast stitcher, and you know, he finishes Nora Corbett's in like 3 days. We don't like that aspect of him very much, but, or as I like to say, I just ignore that part and go, me and EJ, we're good. We stitch the same. So, you know, whether you're doing Stitch from Stash, or you're doing no new starts and trying to work through your whip pile, or maybe that this is 2021 could be the year of start everything, come up with a plan for you that works for you, that will be something different for you to do as well. I think it's always good to have, you know, and again, does it work for everybody? No. Everybody likes to, coming up with a plan doesn't work for me for when I'm doing my reading and the books that I'm reading, because I like to be willy-nilly about that and however the mood strikes me. So for some of you, that's what you need to do on your stitching. Plan, schmlan. You don't like doing that because you want to go with whatever strikes you, which I totally understand that too. But for the rest of us, I'm encouraging you to come up with a plan and see what you want to try and accomplish in 2021. If nothing else, try it for a year and see if it changes how you stitch and what you get accomplished. And at the end of the year, it may have changed things for the better, or you may have said, well, not doing that again, and you could even hit the end of the first quarter and go, okay, well, this isn't working for me and I'm doing something different, and that's okay too. Don't forget, there's no cross-stitch police. Always, it's your hobby. It's supposed to bring you some comfort, some creativity, joy for sure, for the most part, other than, you know, when we're frogging or having to rip things out. But for the most part, enjoyment. So come up with something that works for you. And with that, that is the end of my topic for this week. So I hope everybody's had a really good week. I hope you're all managing to stay safe and healthy. Those are very critical components these days. And with that, if you're an American that is watching my channel, I'm going to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, because we're coming up on your Thanksgiving. For those of us that aren't necessarily Americans, some of us may be celebrating your Thanksgiving with you through the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales and all the things that are going on. Because I might be participating in those depending on how good the sales are, because I enjoy that part. And with that, that ends my video this week. Again, stay safe, stay healthy, and find some enjoyment in your stitching. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week, guys.